From throwing salty shade at the love and marriage, Huntsville movie premiere, to making a shocking move that left guests whispering behind his back, Martell proved once again that bitter doesn't even begin to describe it. And trust me, you won't believe what went down once the cameras stopped rolling. When it comes to Martell Holt, drama is never far behind. Whether it's messy social media rants, tension-filled reunions, or headline-grabbing appearances, Martell always finds a way to keep himself at the center of controversy. For better or worse, and usually worse, just when you think he might be turning over a new leaf, he does something that leaves the entire room and the internet buzzing with disbelief. At the highly anticipated Love and Marriage Huntsville movie premiere party, fans expected glitz, glamour, and celebration. But what they got instead was a front row seat to Martell's latest display of bitterness, shade, and shocking behavior. Actions that many say completely overshadowed the event itself. Eyewitnesses, insiders, and even castmates couldn't help but notice that Martell seemed more focused on making a statement than supporting the celebration. In today's deep dive, we're unpacking exactly what happened that night, how Martell's behavior sent shockwaves through the party, and the surprising fallout that's now threatening to follow him long after the red carpet has been rolled up. We'll break down who he threw shade at, the subtle digs he made, and the cold encounter that had everyone whispering by the end of the night. So grab a seat, because trust me, the story gets wilder with every twist. And just when you think you've heard it all, wait until you find out what Martell did after the cameras stopped rolling. But before we get into it, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more real talk on your favorite reality TV stars, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a deep dive like this one. Now let's jump into how Martell turned what should have been a night of celebration into a night of pure controversy. The premiere event was supposed to mark a huge milestone for the Love and Marriage Huntsville franchise, a glamorous night for the cast, their friends, and loyal fans to gather and witness the movie adaptation of the hit reality series. Red carpets, high fashion, big smiles, everything you'd expect from a star-studded premiere. But Martell Holt had other plans. As cast members arrived and worked the carpet, greeting fans and posing for photos, there was one person whose energy shifted the entire atmosphere the moment he appeared. Martell, known for his controversial past and very public fallout with ex-wife Melody Shari, Martell made a dramatic entrance, but not the kind anyone was hoping for. He arrived not just fashionably late, but awkwardly late. So late that people were left asking, why even show up at all? From the second he stepped onto the scene, the mood changed. Observers, who caught a glimpse of him before he hit the carpet, noticed something was off. Martell wasn't in a celebratory mood. He looked like he had a point to prove. And it wasn't a positive one. The first red flag. His interaction, or lack thereof, with the rest of the cast, while everyone else mingled, laughed, and posed for photos. Martell remained off to the side. He wore a chip on his shoulder so large, it was impossible to ignore. No smiles, no warm greetings, just cold, distant energy that immediately stood out. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Melody Shari's entrance. The crowd erupted. Fans screamed. Cameras flashed. She was glowing, dressed to impress, and exuding the confidence and grace that have made her a fan favorite. But how did Martell respond? With nothing. No wave, no smile, not even a nod of acknowledgement. Just an icy glare and stiff body language as Melody continued down the carpet. Unbothered and radiant, the tension in the room was undeniable. Whispers started immediately. Was this Martell's way of showing that the beef between them was still alive? Or was this deeper than just unresolved feelings? As fans of the show know, the drama between Martell and Melody didn't stop with their separation. Their public feud has played out across social media, explosive reunion specials, and emotionally charged interviews. But this cold public display took things to another level. And believe it or not, it didn't stop there. As the premiere wound down and the red carpet faded into the background, the real drama was only just beginning. Guests moved on to the after party, hoping to let loose after an exciting night. But what they got instead was a front row seat to even more Martell-fueled chaos. According to multiple sources, Martell's energy at the after-party was just as tense, if not worse. Instead of celebrating the success of the film, or engaging with fans and fellow cast members, he reportedly spent most of the night isolating himself, avoiding certain conversations, and making cryptic remarks that left people confused and uncomfortable. But then came the moment that sealed the night in infamy. In a move that shocked everyone, Martell reportedly confronted a cast member over something that had nothing to do with the evening. Voices were raised, tensions flared, and security was allegedly alerted. While no physical altercation occurred, the vibe was ruined. People began leaving early. The celebration was officially over. Now, in the aftermath, the internet is ablaze with rumors. Castmates are staying tight-lipped, but insiders claim that producers and executives are seriously reconsidering Martell's future involvement with the franchise. One thing is certain, Martell Holt turned what was meant to be a joyful night into one of controversy, awkwardness, and unforgettable tension. And if his goal was to make a statement, he definitely succeeded. Just not in the way anyone would have hoped. The energy was electric, but not in a good way. It felt like a powder keg waiting to explode, and Martell was the match. As soon as he stepped into the after party, his mood shifted from cold to downright confrontational. By now, whispers had already begun circulating throughout the venue. Did you see how he acted on the carpet? He didn't even speak to Melody, but the most shocking part of the night was still to come. Martell wasn't alone. He was surrounded by his close circle of friends and associates, people who were clearly aware of the tension between him and his ex-wife. But what happened next took things to a whole new level. Inside the VIP section of the venue, things began to spiral when Martell crossed paths with none other than Mona Scott-Young, the powerhouse executive producer behind Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Now, Mona is no stranger to drama. As the brain behind Love and Hip Hop and several other reality franchises, she's witnessed and managed more scandals than most. But what no one expected was the sheer level of animosity Martell would show. So that night, Martell, visibly agitated and bitter, reportedly made his feelings about the show and its portrayal of him known. According to multiple eyewitnesses, he confronted Mona and said, "I'm not the villain, Mona," with a voice laced in frustration and accusation. Despite Mona's professionalism and refusal to engage, Martell wouldn't back down. He continued to push, clearly trying to provoke a reaction. His remarks became more biting, his body language more aggressive. One partygoer described the moment by saying, "Martell was on a mission to make everyone in that room uncomfortable, and then things escalated. What happened next left the entire room in stunned silence." In a move no one could have predicted, Martell slapped Mona. Yes, you read that correctly. A slap at a Hollywood premiere after party. At first, many thought they were seeing things, Could Martell really have just slapped the executive producer of the show that made him a household name? But those who witnessed the moment firsthand confirmed it. And it wasn't just any slap. It was the emotional release of years of pent-up frustration. A man unraveling, right there in front of cameras, guests, and colleagues. Martell's bitterness, rooted in years of personal struggles, broken relationships, and a public image he felt powerless to control, had boiled over, and now it had found its target. But here's what truly shocked everyone. Mona didn't retaliate. She maintained her composure and walked away, refusing to give the outburst any more oxygen than it already had. Her silence spoke volumes, but the damage had already been done. People were left stunned, unsure of what the fallout would look like, and just when you thought it couldn't possibly get worse, Martell made sure it did. Still fuming from the Mona incident, Martell then turned his attention to another familiar face, Miss Wonder. Now, fans of the show know that Miss Wonder has never been one to hold back. She's known for throwing shade, stirring the pot, and speaking her mind no matter who's around. But no one expected Martell to go after her, especially not like this. Miss Wonder was near the bar, engaged in a lively conversation with a group of friends, completely unaware that Martell was heading her way. Eyewitnesses say it was like watching a slow-motion scene unfold. Martell's expression grew darker with every step. What was going through his mind? Some say it was the culmination of years of resentment. Others believe it was pure deflection, a man who felt attacked and cornered, lashing out at anyone who represented conflict in his life. When Martell finally reached her, he didn't waste time with pleasantries. "You've been running your mouth about me for years," he allegedly said, his voice dripping with anger. Miss Wonder, fiery as ever, didn't back down. She snapped back without hesitation. "You know nothing about me, Martell." The tension in the air was unbearable. The entire room seemed to freeze, waiting to see if things would escalate even further. By now, several partygoers were visibly concerned. Some whispered that Martell was about to go completely off the rails. And then, it happened. The next moment was so intense, so unexpected, that the crowd collectively gasped. While the full details of what occurred after that exchange are still being pieced together, sources close to the situation say that security stepped in just in time to prevent another public confrontation. Martell was eventually escorted out of the venue, leaving behind a storm of whispers, questions, and stunned silence. One thing is certain, Martell Holt turned what should have been a night of celebration into a night of unforgettable chaos. His actions weren't just messy, they were career-defining. And now, as the dust settles, fans, castmates, and producers alike are left wondering what comes next. In a fit of rage, Martell Holt grabbed a drink off a nearby table and hurled it in Miss Wonder's direction, narrowly missing her. The splash of liquid sprayed across the nearby crowd, sending a wave of shock and confusion rippling through the party. Miss Wonder was drenched, but it wasn't just the drink that left her stunned. It was the sheer audacity of Martell's behavior. The crowd stood frozen, unsure whether to intervene or step back and watch the chaos unfold. But Martell wasn't finished. As Miss Wonder wiped the drink from her clothes, Martell stormed even closer, his eyes locked on her with a fiery intensity that suggested things might go further. "You think you're a star now, huh?" he mocked. "This show is trash, and you're just a side character in a story no one cares about." By now, the situation was spiraling out of control. What was meant to be a night of celebration had turned into a full-blown emotional battlefield. People were whispering, some pulling out phones, others too stunned to move. But here's the twist. This wasn't even the final confrontation of the night. Just when it seemed things couldn't possibly get worse, the door to the party room suddenly swung open. A hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned toward the entrance. Who was it? Another cast member? A producer? Someone from Martell's past, ready to stir the pot even further? No, it was Melody Holt. Yes, Melody Holt, Martell's ex-wife, and the woman at the center of much of the shows and Martell's personal drama. The energy in the room shifted immediately the moment she walked in. Known for her grace under pressure and for staying composed in the most volatile situations, Melody's presence sent an unmistakable message. This night was far from over. Martell froze the instant he saw her. The crowd held its breath. This wasn't just an ordinary ex-wife encounter. This was the ex-wife. The one who had endured his betrayals, stood her ground, and walked away with her head held high. And now, she was back in the room at the exact moment chaos was peaking. Melody entered with quiet confidence, commanding attention without saying a word. Everyone anticipated a dramatic showdown, some yelling, a public takedown, maybe even a full-blown argument. But what Melody did instead left the entire room stunned. She walked straight up to Martell and then turned her back to him. She didn't speak to him. She didn't acknowledge him. Instead, she turned to the crowd and addressed the situation head-on, her voice firm and clear. "I didn't come here to entertain this nonsense," Melody said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm done with the drama. What happened in the past is over. But if you all want a show, then let's give them mine." Her words were like a lightning bolt, not just to Martell, but to everyone watching. The intensity in the room hit a new level. What did she mean by "give them one"? Was she about to expose something? Make an announcement? Drop a truth bomb? Martell stood there, stunned, trying to process what she had just said. The emotional weight of their shared history hung in the air, thick with unresolved tension. But what happened next? No one saw coming. Instead of turning the heat back in, Martell Melody shifted her attention to Miss Wonder, who was still shaken from the earlier altercation. "You've had a lot to say," Melody said, her voice now calm but undeniably powerful. "But do you know the truth about what's really been going on?" The room fell into silence. "This story is bigger than what you've heard." Miss Wonder took a step back, clearly caught off guard. She didn't know how to respond. Melody's involvement had changed everything. This was no longer just a heated argument. It was starting to feel like the prelude to something bigger. Melody wasn't just defending herself or making a scene. She was claiming control of the narrative. The night had begun in chaos, but now it was clear. Melody Holt had just shifted the power dynamic entirely. Was Melody about to expose something even more explosive than the slap and insults? Martell, who had stood frozen just moments earlier, suddenly saw an opportunity. He couldn't let Melody take control of the narrative. Not tonight. This was his night, wasn't it? He had to keep the drama alive, had to keep all eyes on him. But what Martell didn't realize was that Melody was playing a much longer, more calculated game. She wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of being the center of attention, because Melody had bigger plans, and they went far beyond the fight with Martell. As the tension in the room simmered, Melody turned to face the crowd. Her calm yet confident demeanor made it clear that something significant was about to unfold. And then she did it. She dropped a bombshell. "The truth is, this whole thing is bigger than the cameras, the drama, and the relationships," Melody declared, her voice steady and loud enough to command the room. "This is about something none of you know, and I've been quiet for far too long." The room fell into complete silence. Was Melody about to reveal the secret of a lifetime? Everyone stood still, eyes fixed on her. Her words echoed through the now tense atmosphere. Was she truly about to expose something hidden all this time? Did she know something about Martell, or perhaps about the people surrounding him, that no one else did? As the crowd held its breath, Melody scanned the room, her eyes eventually locking onto Martell. He tried to read her face, trying to gauge her next move. But it wasn't just Martell who was captivated. Everyone was. The stakes had suddenly skyrocketed. You all think this is about me and Martell, Melody continued, her voice unwavering, but charged with emotion. But the truth is, it's about so much more than just our past. You've all been fed lies, and tonight I'm going to set the record straight. The words hit like a lightning bolt. Martell, for the first time that evening, looked genuinely rattled. His typical bravado had slipped, and he appeared unsure, unprepared. This wasn't the narrative he had built. Melody wasn't playing into the drama. She wasn't here for revenge. She was here to take back her power. As Martell scrambled internally, trying to figure out how to respond, Melody stepped in with the real bombshell. You know, Martell, there's something you've never told anyone. Something that could change everything. And I think it's time everyone finally hears the truth. The room froze again. What truth? What could Melody possibly be referring to? Was it about Martell's well-documented infidelity? Was it related to behind-the-scenes drama with the show? Or was there something even darker? Something buried deep, that not even the most devoted fans knew? Martell's face went pale. Was Melody really about to expose something he couldn't defend himself against? But instead of continuing to attack, Melody's expression softened. Just for armament. She wasn't here to destroy him. No, she had something much more powerful in mind. She was here to reclaim her voice. After years of being painted in Martell's shadow, of being portrayed through a narrow, manipulated lens, Melody was ready to step forward. Not as a victim, not as an ex-wife, but as a woman finally telling her side of the story. I didn't come here to destroy anyone, she said, her tone calmer now. But it's time for all of you to understand the real story. The one you haven't been told. The one where I'm not the villain, where I'm not the one to blame for the mess that's been made. The crowd was stunned, silent. Who was Melody talking about? Who had been manipulating the story all this time? It became clear. This wasn't just about Martell anymore. Melody had opened a new door, one filled with mystery, revelation, and questions that cut deeper than any on-screen drama. For years, everyone has focused on my marriage, on what went wrong between Martell and me, she continued. But what no one wants to talk about is the bigger picture, the people behind the scenes who have been pulling the strings, the ones who've made sure the story was always told in a way that made me look bad. You could hear a pin drop. Every person in the room was on the edge of their seat, bracing for what came next. And then, she said it. It's not just Martell, it's the producers. The people who control this show. I've been their pawn for too long. Shockwaves rippled through the room. Did Melody just accuse the producers of manipulating her story, of actively working to shape the public's perception of her for their own agenda? Suddenly, this wasn't about a toxic relationship anymore. This wasn't just reality TV drama. Melody had just pulled the curtain back on a potential conspiracy, one that had been unfolding quietly, season after season. Martell's jaw dropped. He couldn't respond. He wasn't prepared. His role in all of this was already complicated. But this exposed something much deeper than personal betrayal. Now the spotlight was on the show's creators, the very people who were supposed to tell everyone's truth. What did this mean for love and marriage? Huntsville? How many others had been misrepresented, edited, or used for drama? while the real story stayed hidden. In a single composed moment, Melody Holt had shifted the entire narrative. And as the room sat, stunned, one thing was undeniable. This was no longer Martell's story. It was Melody's reckoning.